Throughout the day, I had this feeling that I may have overdone it on the previous session when I was doing all sorts of higher volume for stuff like hip thrust and going up in weight on my high pulls and a lot of neutral grip pull-ups. So I thought that because I was going to get into front squats today and then doing also some extra posterior chain volume in the form of the 45-degree hypers with extra weight, I had this little doubt at the back of my head that I may not be doing great on squats, but I'm happy to say that they look good. First set here, I was doing 8 reps, 70 kilos, they were moving okay. Maybe I was going a bit fast on the way down, maybe relying a bit too much on the stretch reflex, but I wouldn't say that I was bouncing or dive bombing it. And I felt good engagement in the quads on both sets. The only thing that I wasn't able to really do was the weighted hanging leg raises, because as I was warming up, I usually do some hanging knee raises just to get the hip flexors warm, and then I'm doing some unweighted leg raises, and then I add the weight. When I was doing the leg raises, the fact that I was keeping my legs straight and going into 90-degree hip flexion was starting to trigger a little annoyance through the piriformis. And at that time, I thought of not doing anything as a replacement for that. And in hindsight, that was probably a mistake, because what I thought about now was to just weigh the hanging knee raises. I could probably have gone with a much higher weight that I'm doing the leg raises with, because the leverage is much more forgiving, and I could also do higher repetitions with a higher weight while providing variation to something that could possibly help out, because it's just pumping blood in the area. So even if it's more at the front of the hip, who cares? But then I was getting into some more targeted work for the posterior chain, which definitely pulled some blood in the area. I was doing the usual high reps for the 45-degree hyperextensions with an extra 20 kilos. And similarly to what I did the previous day when I did only 2 sets on the hip thrust, I only did 2 sets here of those for higher repetitions, so 2 sets of 15 reps. What I think to do now is to go up in weight, maybe 25 kilos, and start progressing easily, because I tend to overdo these and it's probably not a good thing. So by easily, I mean starting at 10 and going up to 15 over the coming weeks. As I'm usually supersetting these with the upright rows, I think that I want to go a bit higher on those as well. So 15 reps as well, and then go up to 14 kilos. And then also progress in a cautious way, not really undershooting what I can do, but starting off with a couple of reps in reserve and then slowly building up on that, which is something that I was doing also as the dips are passing by. Kind of the same idea. I do not feel any annoyance in the shoulder when I'm doing the upright rows. I wasn't feeling anything in the shoulder as I was doing these very controlled, slow eccentrics, stopping at the bottom with my feet touching the floor. Didn't really want to go into a dynamic reverse of the movement. So from the eccentric, stopping, and then starting the concentric from a stable position, and those repetitions were giving me a good feedback. Then I was moving over to these tuck front lever raises. Very tough. On both paper and in practice, they're much harder than the dips, but as I stated before, I want the dips to be the starting exercise in the superset, because I want to be extra safe in the way that I perform those. And if I'm fatigued by a much harder exercise, I may be compromising something throughout the set, and it's not really something that I'm willing to do. And because these seem to be very easy on my shoulders, in the sense that they don't really compress anything, but everything is nice and extended, there is space for everything, I'd rather do these in this fashion for the time being. Ciao.